salty tan peptide lip tint because I filmed the Get Ready With Me video at like 7 or 8 this morning, and it's now 5:30 p.m. So it's not that I wasn't productive. I went to the grocery store, I made dinner. I actually made dinner for a few days. I meal prepped for a few days. But and I cleaned out my spice rack, and I was able to keep two Lonesome Spice bottles, spice jars, whatever they are, on my spice rack. And for the rest, my spice rack is completely empty because everything was expired. Some things literally since January 2023. I was like, why do you have this? You moved into this house in January 2023, and I know exactly what I did. I looked at it, and I said to myself, oh, but I might use it this month. Why am I like that? Yeah, my lips were getting, the lipstick had faded, and my lips were getting a bit dry, so, yeah, this is better. Okay, let me dive in. So, let's tackle Epcot, which is my favorite park. My 3 favorite rides. Okay, my favorite ride, and it's probably my favorite ride in all of Disney, to be honest, is Test Track. They refurbished and rethemed Test Track last year, so it wasn't open 2 years ago when I went in September. It was open last year when I went in November, and it is really well done. It's still the same cool ride, but it is a good bit smoother than it used to be. Which again, I've touched on in the previous video. I feel like they need to do that with Space Mountain. I feel like they made the tracks or the whole ride just smoother. But that's my favorite ride in all of Disney, and I think it's a big part of the reason why Epcot is my favorite park. My second favorite ride in Epcot is I think it's Mission Space or Spaceship Earth. No, I think it's Mission Space, the one that's inside the big ball. It is such a chill ride. It is actually, I made a little note on my previous video that I think the People Mover is the longest ride in Disney. I take that back. I think Mission Space is the longest ride in Disney. It is, you're just in a cart, and it takes you through the entire history of humankind, from cave people all the way to the Greek, Greek and Roman Empire, I guess, all the way through to like the Phoenicians and how they invented the alphabet, and how the Egyptians invented papyrus so that we could document everything for history, all the way really up to where we are now. And I even think they need to update the ride a little bit because I think they're a little behind. I feel like we've made more advances already that they still deem kind of in the future. It's completely done as voiceover by love it because it's so chill, and quite frankly, I learned a good few things about it. A ride I also only discovered in recent years, like post-COVID. Pre-COVID, I never did it because I was confusing it with Spaceship Earth. I'm still confusing it. I still am not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's Mission Space that's inside the ball. Spaceship Earth was a ride in Disneyland Paris that my dad, my brother, and I did when we went for my Holy Communion. And my brother and I both got sick on it. We didn't actually get sick, but we both got really nauseous. And my dad was like, "Put your head between your legs," and we both just sat there the whole ride with our heads between our legs because we didn't want to throw up. I think it was kind of like the first simulator. So I always think I became motion sick when I hit my 30s. And it definitely got worse then, because I used to do roller coasters with loops, forwards, backwards, sideways, no problem. And I often now get motion sick even playing Zelda. And I never used to get motion sick playing Zelda. Then again, the graphics weren't the way they are now. It's hard to get motion sick playing a pixelated little guy, you know. But I realized that I already got motion sick from simulators when I was a kid, and so did my brother. Mission Space, no, Spaceship Earth, as far as I remember, is you just sitting in front of a big screen in space, and you're like flying along with a spaceship through it, and it, like weaves and goes past planets and stuff like that. I don't know, I only did it like 24 years ago, so I don't really remember what it was, but I vividly remember seeing a screen in space and being really nauseous. So I always thought that was Mission Space. Turns out it is not. And once I discovered that and decided to give Mission Space a try, I loved it so much that now it's always one of the first rides I do. It kind of depends what entrance I use. Epcot has 2 entrances. You can use the front one, which I would use if I was staying in any resort that was not on the boardwalk. So for example, for last year I stayed at the Polynesian for a week. But I also stayed at the Dolphin for a week. The Dolphin is on the boardwalk, and the back entrance to Epcot is at the boardwalk. So if you use the Skyliner or you just walk across the boardwalk, you can get in through the back entrance, or take the boat to the back entrance. If you're like when I was staying at the Polynesian and I had to take the monorail, or if you're staying at any other resort and you have to take the bus, you take the front entrance, and the Mission Space is the first ride you come across at the front entrance. So it would be the first one I do. If I'm staying on the boardwalk, I would usually start with Living with the Land or Soarin'. I love Figment, but Figment is great if it's walk on. I wouldn't wait even 10 minutes for it, to be honest. It's just not that great of a ride. But yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about my favorite rides. So Mission Space, and then my third favorite ride has to be Living with the Land. Again, a really long ride, but I don't think as long as Mission Space. I do think that's the longest. But Living with the Land essentially is a is it called? Like aquaculture or something like that. They have a lot of fish tanks, which I'm not so keen on because there's a lot of fish in tiny tanks. But, you know, that's no different than a zoo, I guess. Oh my gosh, what? Like all day nothing, and I start recording and my stomach starts gurgling in all different areas of my body. So I really like that one. I like it just because it's chill. It's air conditioned really well because greenhouses, okay, obviously greenhouses have to be warm. So when you're going through the actual greenhouse section, it can be a little warm, but the rest of the ride, because the greenhouses are warm, is really air conditioned. So it's a cool ride, and it just takes a long time, and it's just a nice way to pass the time. I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Nemo and Soarin', which I also really love. Like, I think Epcot is my favorite park because I have to pick 3 favorite rides, but I love almost all the rides they have. I don't do Guardians of the Galaxy because it goes backwards and sideways. I would hurl all over it. I don't love Figment, but I do think it's a cute ride, and if it's walk on, I'll always do it. I love Frozen Ever After, and I don't do Remy because Remy is a simulator. It makes me nauseous. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway does not. That's in Hollywood Studios. I'll talk about that in a minute, but I can't remember what the difference between the two is because in both you sit in a cart that moves through scenes and you're looking at screens. But I know with Mickey and Minnie's you're not in the screens, like following along with it, so it doesn't make me nauseous. But I did Remy's in Disneyland Paris, and it made me really nauseous, so I haven't done it in Epcot, and a good thing, I guess, because it's always got a really long queue. So this is where I want to take a brief moment and talk about my issues with the lightning lane system, because the Epcot and Hollywood Studios are really where I have a problem with it. Hollywood Studios more so, but Epcot is already a great example. So you get to book them a week in advance, but you can't book Epcot. You can't book Test Track, Frozen, or Remy together. You can only book one of the 3 because, and they're not in the same land. None of them are. Test Track is in, oh, I don't even know what that land is called, but it's like at the very start. It's like Futureland or something. It's at the very start of the park. Frozen is in the World Showcase in Norway, and Remy is in the World Showcase in France. Opposite ends of the World Showcase. France is the last country. Norway is one of the first, depending on which way you enter. So it's not, because last time I said, if they're in the same land, you can't book them. That's not the case. You can't book rides in the same land. You can't book rides that are really popular together. So if I book Test Track and I ride it, say, I get up really early by chance and I ride it at 8 a.m. While I'm in the queue, I can already book my next lightning lane. I would have 3 booked, but the first one has been used, so I could already book my next lightning lane. You're not gonna get one for Frozen or Remy because they're all gone. I think they keep some for day guests who can book them at midnight, and I guarantee past midnight, they're all gone for those rides. And that bothers me because Lightning Lane passes for the day are not cheap. And there are always rides that you're not going to be able to book a Lightning Lane for, in my opinion. And Universal does this. If you stay in Universal Deluxe Resort, you get a free express pass and it's unlimited, meaning you can ride the same ride 5 times in one day with your express pass. If you buy an express pass, you can choose between unlimited or once, meaning you, and for Epic Universe, I believe the express pass is only once, at least so far. You can ride every ride with your express pass once. Disney doesn't do that, and it's really expensive, so I don't appreciate that. That's just kind of what I want to say. I'm like, if you're gonna pay for a Lightning Lane day at the park, you should be able to ride every ride at least once, even if it is just once with a Lightning Lane. But you can't do that because you can't book the most popular ones together, and by the time you've done your popular one, the other ones are no longer available. So that is the exact way the FastPass system used to work, but it was free. Now you're paying for the same, what was then a great service because it was free. Now it's a shitty service because it's very expensive and you don't get to do everything. Now for Epcot, this bothers me less because I have found that Test Track typically moves faster in the single rider lane than in the Lightning Lane. And because I always go by myself, and even when I went with friends before, we always do single rider because it's not like you're talking to each other on the rides, and it's not like it's the first time we do the rides. So we always do the single rider lane, and it moves very fast for Test Track. The wait time at Test Track could be 180 minutes, and single rider could take you 20 to get on. So highly recommend that if you don't mind being separated from your loved ones. So if I were to book a Lightning Lane day, I would book my pass for Frozen. However, I find Lightning Lane day at Epcot a bit of a waste because, again, Test Track really fast. The only 2 rides I do that typically have a long queue are Frozen. Frozen always has a really long queue. Like, on a busy day, it's 120 minutes, and I wouldn't queue for that. It's a cute ride, but it's not like, for me, it's not the greatest ride ever. Soarin', however, I do love, and that can also have like a really long queue. But for 2 rides, I don't think it's worth to book a whole Lightning Lane day, and you can't book individual Lightning Lanes. There are rides that only work with individual Lightning Lanes. That's another thing. Like if you book a Lightning Lane day pass for Magic Kingdom, it doesn't include Seven Dwarfs Mine Train or Tron. You can buy individual Lightning Lanes for them. I think you know what, I'm not going to say the price because I don't know. I wanted to say $10, but that doesn't sound like enough. I think it's more like $30. And I have done it. But you know, that's on top of the Lightning Lane day pass because those rides aren't included at all. So it's just money grabbing from Disney. But yeah, I love everything about Epcot. I love the World Showcase. I love, walking around all the little different countries. I'm usually there for Food and Wine Festival, and they always have a little Belgium said this before, but the majority in Belgium speak Dutch. But it's a big misconception that we all speak French. But anyway, it's located in the French Pavilion, and while I don't think the dishes are traditionally Belgian, the beers are. It's just always nice for me to see that they have Belgium in there. So, alright, so moving on to Hollywood Studios. I really only do 3 rides there. I used to do 4 with the Muppets 4D, but it closed. So I only do 3 rides. Slinky Dog Dash, Toy Story Mania, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I do not do Tower of Terror because I don't like the feeling of drops. It's not that I'm afraid of them. I don't like the feeling of my stomach coming out of my mouth. Did Rock and Roller Coaster once. I don't think that one is necessarily the worst in like my nausea. I don't remember. I don't think it makes loops. If it does, it goes really fast because you have to put your backpack at your feet. And normally with loop roller coasters, you can't do that because it would fall out. So either it goes so fast, because I swear I felt it make a loop at one point. Either it goes so fast that nothing can fall out, or I just misfelt it and it doesn't make loops. It's now a Muppet themed one. It's no longer Aerosmith. It just reopened. But I just haven't done it in years. And I don't do Star Wars Land because I'm not a Star Wars fan. I have not watched the movie. Sorry. I know there's a lot of Star Wars fans out there, and a lot of very passionate ones. I tried watching the 4th movie, which is technically the first movie ever made, and one rated as one of the best 3 times, and I fell asleep 3 times. It's just, I think it's past my time. You know, the effects are so bad because they're such old movies. Back then they were great. They're really bad now. So for someone my age to start watching them now, I just can't respect it for what it was, I guess. It's just not my thing. Also, I believe most of the Star Wars rides are simulators, so I don't even bother. But let me know, actually, because I always thought Rise of the Resistance was a simulator, but then I saw like a POV on YouTube of someone on the ride, and it didn't actually look like it was one. So if you have done any ride in Star Wars Land that is not a simulator, let me know, because just because I don't love Star Wars doesn't mean I might not like the rides. I have walked through the land and it is beautifully themed, but it's also very crowded, and because I don't love Star Wars, I tend to just stay away from it. Toy Story Land is also ridiculously crowded, but I love Toy Story. But therein again falls the problem. So you book a lightning lane pass for Hollywood Studios, which again for me is on the one hand ridiculous because I only do 3 rides, but all 3 rides have a very, very long queue. I could literally spend 6 hours just queuing for 3 rides. So I do usually book a lightning lane day once for Hollywood Studios. Now I always book it for Slinky Dog Dash because while Mickey and Minnie's can have the same queue, they're typically shorter. I have seen Slinky Dog Dash more at 180 minutes than I haven't. Like, it's always really high. And you can't book both. You can book Toy Story Mania with it's not a super hot day and I'm going to the park anyway, I might as well spend 6 hours just waiting. Although I don't do that. I said this last time, I don't queue 180 minutes for anything. My limit is 90. I have queued a few times for 90, but I don't go above 90. So that pretty much always rules out Slinky Dog. So I do one Lightning Lane day at Hollywood Studios, and then if I go back a second time, unless a miracle happens, I only do Toy Story Mania and Mickey and Minnie's. So it's like in and out of the park practically after, a combined 3-hour wait. So yeah, that's it. That is the last bit of my Disney video. Yeah, that's it. I only do 3 rides in Hollywood Studios, so there's not much else to say. Please let me know in the comments below what your favorite rides are and what your favorite